A reasonable doubt is a doubt that is based upon reason and common sense. And at the end of this case, we are going to spend a lot of time talking about doubt. But for purposes of my remarks this morning, I want to talk about reason and common sense, and how that applies to the evidence that you're about to see during this trial. Reason is an idea that wholly permeates our law, our legal system, and it forms the foundation, and you will see that and hear repeatedly throughout the course of this trial. Some questions to think about is, what would a reasonable police officer do? What is an unreasonable use of force? What would a reasonable person do in his or her most important affairs? What is an unreasonable doubt? And would you listen to your senior in command? As such, it dictates and necessitates how the evidence must be looked at and analysed in every single case. There are always two sides to the story, as there is to a coin. Other questions will emerge about reasonable use of force, and this will ultimately become the decision you will have to make. To answer these questions, the evidence will show that the Los County Police Department's training and policies. You will learn about things such as authorized use of force and proportionality use of force. You will learn about rapidly evolving situations and understanding a police officer or any person when they are involved in a high-stress use of force situation. You will learn that Commander Waters did exactly what he'd been trained to do over the course of his 3-month career and did exactly what he had been told to do. The use of force is not attractive, but is a necessary component of policing. You will learn that Phoenix was the call for the officers who are critical to shoot the criminals. You will learn that the two officers who were critical followed orders and did exactly what they had been told to do, as well as another officer on scene who was not ordered to fire but did so without any authorization. At the conclusion of this evidence, you'll be instructed to, as the law, the elements of the offence, and the court will give you detailed instructions on what you must find to convict Mr. Waters of these charges. But when you review the actual evidence and when you hear the law and apply it to reason and common sense, there will only just be one verdict, and that is to find Mr. Waters not guilty.
Is that all, sir?
That is all, sir.
Thank you. Could the prosecution please state their evidence? Thank you.
Your Honour, we have the video footage that was given to us by Commander Waters, and I've also used parts of the interview that was conducted after to back up my points.
Could you please make sure that the relevant interviews are on the specified place, sir? Thank you.
Yes, Your Honour.
And whilst we wait for that, could you please state your prosecution statement once that's finished? Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Is that all, sir?
Sorry, Your Honour, I'm back now.
Okay, that's fine. Could you please start your prosecution? Thank you.
The first point I'll be going through is for the crime of murder. For the actus reus of murder to be fulfilled, it has to be unlawful. And I do think that this was unlawful because there was no reasonable excuse for the people to be murdered as the way they were. At the time they were shot, there was no danger to the hostage or the police surrounding them. They were in their car about to drive away, and yet the police officers still opened fire. This is clearly unreasonable force, and is not proportional to the force that they used against the hostage. Also, the mens rea has to be fulfilled, which it clearly is, because the shooting was clearly with intent to kill, and the fact that they were going to shoot them was discussed quite a few times before they actually opened fire.
Sorry to hold you there, sir. Only the members of the trial will have direct access to the evidence given. So if you are part of the spectator seat, you will not be given permission to view the evidence. Thank you. You may carry on, sir.
So this is clearly also excessive force because, as I've said, the criminals had not shown any sort of force against the hostage. They had shown threats, but they had not even acted upon these threats. So there was no reason for those people to be murdered because they had not shown any signs of wanting to hurt the hostage. They just wanted them as leverage for the robbery. That is all, Your Honour.
Thank you. Could the defence please go? Thank you.
Yep, okay. I'd like to use the evidence from my Commander Waters' point of view.
Yep.
So I'd like to say that it's not my client's job to make decisions on his own. My client's job is to protect the people and to follow their seniors' orders. If we disregard the police's authority and procedures, then none of the citizens of the city would be safe. It is his duty to uphold the law and follow his seniors' command. They are taught to be obedient and are punished for disobeying orders. How can my client be charged for such offences when he has been ordered to by his superior? My client is not a street thug, nor is he a criminal. He is an obedient police officer. During the clip, the negotiator himself does not state that they are leaving, while the scene commander is on the side and knows the situation himself. So for all my client knows is they could have injured the hostage and tried to escape, or even worse, hurt a fellow officer while they were charging out. His own reasonable thinking and reasonable force was to save his fellow officers and the citizens of this Lost County. My client states that if he were in command, he would not have called Phoenix. I'd like to reference Phoenix, which is the call for open fire. And I'd like to add that a gun was on safety prior to the shooting, so shows consideration for the safety of others and common sense. I also have a witness statement from Commander Sanders that I'd like to read out. I asked Mr. Sanders, do you train your officers to follow orders? And his response, all officers since they join on day one and any meetings they attend are always told about the chain of command. So my client has to follow orders all times. Another question was, are they punished for disobeying orders, and could this have any effect on their judgment at any given situation? And his response, depending on the severity of this situation, yes. And the final question, what happens with the disobedience of orders and when is it necessary? And Mr. Sanders replied, for this particular situation, AR officers are told that they have their own free will, which means that if they are given orders to take a shot that could take someone's life but feel it's not safe to do so, they can refuse to take the shot. But I'd like you to imagine you're in my client's shoes, a man who has worked his way through the ranks and hard work and is told to follow the chain of orders and follow orders, follow the chain of command and to follow orders. There is no question as to why he would shoot at the criminals. My client responded to the situation in such a way where he felt like it was necessary force was used to protect his fellow officers and the citizens of the Lost County country, as well as the hostage. That is your Honour.
Thank you very much, sir. Would the defence like to counter or speak against the points just raised?
Prosecution?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honour. The defence mentioned that the police's top priority is to follow orders, but this shouldn't be true, because realistically, the police's top defence should be to defend the citizens of the city, and therefore top priority should be the hostage. During the footage, you can see that there's a solid 3 seconds where you can see the hostage still on his knees in the robbery while the criminals get into their car. If they follow the top priority of the hostage, they would see the hostage still in the bank and they would not have opened fire. But clearly, their top priority was shooting these people, murdering these criminals. The chain of command, it is important, but it is also important to realize how there is not equal between maybe getting deranked and taking someone's life. If an officer truly respects the chain of command, they realize that taking a life is not equal to losing their job or just getting deranked. Taking a life should be the number one thing that you do not want to do, no matter what. That is all, Your Honour.
Thank you, sir. Would the defence like to counter any of the points or make any statements in regard to them? Thank you.
So my client started opening fire because the scene commander on the left-hand side has a better visual than my client of the area. And as the door is blocking hostage visual, which means he is unable to know if the hostage was dead or alive. He was also not made aware of the situation of them leaving the scene by the negotiator. As a result, they were not sure if they were fleeing or possibly trying to harm the police officer and the hostage. They might have accidentally injured the hostage. That's why they went quickly and it wasn't radioed in. As during the time frame, one of the doors is is hidden behind the car door. I'd also like to state that he felt threatened that his colleague's life was in danger by the two hostages fleeing the room, as well as the hostage, with not knowing exactly and throughout the entire duration of the hostage being in the building, was he safe. My client did not know for the full duration that he was safe or his colleagues' lives was safe. So my client acted upon those decisions and did what he had to do. That is all, Your Honour.
Thank you, sir. Would the prosecution like to add anything?
Yes, Your Honour. Like I did say before, there is a solid couple of seconds where you can see the hostage still in the bank, while they have in the radio announced that the criminals are leaving the room. You can see one of the criminals running around to the driver's seat of the car, so there's no logical way that the other criminal would go to harm a police officer. The logical thing would be for them to get in the car and try to flee, because they obviously know that if they do try and attack the police officer, they will be killed. But under they thought that if they got into the car, they would have been able to get away with the car chase. They did not know or did not consent to being shot as soon as they got in the car. That was clearly against any free passage rules that they had in the negotiation. I was not lawful in any way, shape, or form. That is all, Your Honour.
Would the defence like to add anything to that?
Yes, my client was aiming down the scope and was concentrating on critical and not the hostage. He had no visual of the hostage and was concentrating on the person in the critical shot in case anything happens. And as soon as Phoenix was called, then my client took the shot as the negotiator couldn't convey if the hostage is dead or okay, as the scene command had visual of the incident. And my client didn't know. That's all.
Okay. Due to the severity of the case, I'm going to retire behind the court or the left of the court, and I'm going to form a proper judgment whilst I'm gone, which will be a maximum of about 2 minutes. I would like everyone to remain silent and treat it as if this is still a running case. Does everybody understand?
Yes, Your Honour.
Yes, Your Honour.
Thank you. Before I speak the verdicts, which I will give soon, I would like to first state that due to the severity of the case, this is a case given to the highest court of Loss County, which would be equivalent to the Supreme Court. No jury is present at the Supreme Court. It is strictly the judge's discretion as to what is given. The defence has raised very good arguments as to chain of command and decisions which must be made in relation to that. And the prosecution has also made incredibly good points about that as well. I understand where the defence is coming from. However, police officers do not have to follow orders which could be considered unlawful. This is comparable to what Sanders said, as you stated in the witness statement, as to they have their own free will and discretion as to do as they please. In future cases where an order is disobeyed, which could have been done in this case, would come to court and discretion would very much be given towards the person who disobeyed the orders. I would like to also point out that when the when the criminals came out of the jewellery shop, they were unarmed, and they were outside the car, and they had no way of threatening the officers around them due to them not having any weapons on them. However, I understand the pressure that the defendant was in. I understand how the defendant has a very high pressure job, and I understand that the defendant is only looking to try and protect the city. However, even though that is the case, it would be unlawful to disregard the facts. Another point was made about how the defendant was looking down the scope and could not assess the whole situation. It is the police's job to be able to identify the situation, the whole situation, and be able to take that into account when forming their decisions. Humans have a very fortunate gift to be able to rationalise by free will and form their own judgments. Regardless of orders, this is allowed to be done if the order could be considered unlawful. And it's because of this ability for us to rationalise and form free will judgments that I believe in this case the defendant is found guilty, but their sentence will be significantly reduced and no fine will be given. The sentence will be 20 months in jail and no fine. In terms of ranking, I do not have the authority to change the ranks which the MPS have given you. I would like to thank the defence for his brilliant argument, which has caused me to lower this sentence, and I'd like to thank the prosecution as well. But for now, the defendant is demoted from commander to sergeant until further notice. The court is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much, Your Honour.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Can I speak to the defendant and prosecution as well, just quickly, in the room to the left?
Does that include me?
No, just the defence for now.
Okay. I need to go in literally 2 minutes. Not even that.
Yikes.
Not gonna lie, that was fucking impressive.
Yeah,
I'll
it
give
was.
that.
That was quite impressive. Yeah.
Like, I actually rate that, a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, he shouldn't be listening on that wall. Yeah, he was good.
Can you get away, please? Thank you.
I mean, not gonna lie,
Stop
originally
listening in.
I got told that it was gonna be 120 months max. For
Yeah,
murder.
so that's
So
so
with 20, I'll take that.
yeah. No. Yes, and asked for it to be reduced because with like how cooperative you've been with it all. So.
I was like a petty, was an actual lawyer person doing it up.
Well, I mean that could have
That's
that possibly helped it.
like,
That
the lawyer to
possibly
be
helped
like-
it. No, that could have possibly helped it because obviously you were given the command to do it, but again you had your own free will. But I still need to speak to some people about your rank. I haven't had time to do it yet.
Yeah, he like sent me his whole document of that, like, bruh, like whole 2 pages of it. Alright, yeah. Oh, hello. Thank you very
What's
much
Yeah,
for
no
representing
worries.
me.
Is the judge still in there?
Yeah, I think he's flying out.
Oh,
I
don't
I
fail.
need to fly out because I've
Judge?
literally got to work in 10 minutes and I
Yes.
just need to drive down, so I'm fucked.
Apologies, I couldn't get you off.
Yes,
This
I
case was used as precedent for future cases, which is why the severity of this case was large, which is why you have been given the sentence you have been given after speaking with the judge.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, it's been reduced from 120 to 20, so thank you very much. And not gonna lie, I'm really impressed that was fucking amazing from you.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to leave it on so you can just save it while you're at work?
So again?
Stay in this city so you can just save it while you're at work, and I'll send you now for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Alright.
Take care then, officers.
Alright, you too.
Take care, you too. Wait, quick, I got 9 minutes. Fuck, I'm gonna run. Alright, see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.
As he flew out? I hope it didn't fly out.
Did you sentence him?
I sentenced him, yeah, but it didn't come up with the prison uniform. I hope. Oh, what if he's in jail with his police uniform on? He's gonna get fucked.
Looking at the list, and I can't see his name.
Prison. It'll be at the bottom, I think. I'm moving
No,
on.
I meant as in the
Oh,
Let's Go list.
oh,
The
right.
people who are in city.
Oh. God knows then.